Yeah, I didn't see that, so I just thought like I'll remind.
Thank
Well
you.
done. You got a
Thank
I
one.
you.
I offered
Thank you.
everyone who
One.
registered that will
Yeah,
be sending the recording. So an official welcome
yeah,
to
sure.
everyone.
Thanks.
Myself and Kamla. So happy to invite you on this Saturday evening, 18th of July, for the Strategic HR Advisory Workshop. We'll go to the next slide. We always start our session acknowledging our God, because I personally and myself and Kamala believe that what we are doing is only because that God has a purpose in us here on this earth. So we acknowledge that wonderful grace of God, and at the same time, we acknowledge our traditional custodians of our land. Where I am staying at the moment, it's on the Kulin Nation. So we pay our respect, our love, and our joy to the whole wonderful people of all the elders, past, present, and emerging. When I do this acknowledgement of country, I always feel that bit of like a pain in the heart, because when we do the acknowledgement, sometimes it will become just reading that acknowledgement. But to me, it is personal, because I always amazing to hear all the stories from our people on this Australian land. But at the same time, I am amused to see that how they welcomed us, all different countries. Here, we are actually living in that wonderful unity. So let's acknowledge or put that heart, maybe a little bit of love from our heart to all the people in this Australia. They're calling their own home, but we all are calling our own home, Australia here. So I will pass on to Kamala to share the what why we are doing this and who are we. So over to you, Kamala.
Thank you, Bismi. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking this time and opportunity to connect and learn a bit more about what you can do, how you can do better at workplace. And we have wonderful Maya. Thank you, Maya, for your time. We really appreciate. My name is Komla. As Bismi said, we are the founders, and bit more. It's more about when we came together and decided to do this, we thought education is number one that's required in community right now, because you may have experience, you may have lived 100 years, but then without knowledge and skill and applying that in action, it's just, it's not going to be any use, because we may live for as long as we want, but then we need to learn something that make an impact. So this is the platform we choose. We want to really educate and empower women, encourage them. And I realized that if I, with all my privilege, felt unsafe and unheard, what must be like for millions of women facing for far great challenges. So that was me. I told Bismi, we need to be vulnerable. We need to grow together and support each other. And this is the way we can do. And over to you, Bismi. She is wonderful woman I have met. She has a great story, but then it's a very long, but she'll cut it short.
No, no story this time. So thank you, Kamala. I just want to make sure that we get most out of uh, from Maya than us this time. So what is really I want to share is that the quote I shared on the screen, because I actually ran out of my family home with my three kids when my twins were 14 months, just to survive, just to breathe, or just to save my kids from foster care. But this journey is not to survive. I really want every woman, especially the women I know closely, they should thrive enough to empower the world around us. And that's the reason that we are really focusing on this sustainable, scalable program so that we can build that wonderful community. It's not showcasing or like, talking about that victimhood, but it's more of like what we achieved from that and what are the peaceful moment and victories that we are enjoying at the moment after that survival journey. So that's why we did different sessions. Now we are on our HR, which is very close to my heart. And there is a reality why this session is coming up this month is because in November I had an HR incident. I got a real bullying incident at my workplace. I got admitted into the hospital with my aneurysm, and I had to do an MRI, and I was going through all different things, and my HR didn't really help me much. I tried with my union, I tried with my people I know. Unfortunately, I didn't know Maya at that time that she can help me. I checked Ramya. Ramya helped me a lot as well. But anyway, my HR complaint got succeeded, and I'm actually working towards to a better connection with my company and my employer. But what I felt is that there is a global reality there. Everyone is actually trying to progress, but women, especially women of color, worldwide actually facing systematic barrier for equality, for opportunity, and for success. So that's why this session is highly important for us. We are actually missing that foundation that we are not getting empowered. So we need to know how to make that belonging sense to ourselves and then make that basic foundation so that we can really demand each and every woman, do not shrink, do not get burnout, but come out of the self-doubt and do the best. So we have two hearts, Kamala's and mine, but we have one mission. What's our mission? That's what we are going to share with you now. Our mission is to uplift women and girls through education, community, and opportunity, fostering that resilience, well-being, equality, so every woman can rise and empower others. That's our mission. But the vision is more of like a world where every woman rises with confidence. It can be on different time zones or different styles or different ways, but every woman should come up and rise up with us. And we promise to operate with integrity, inclusivity, and deep commitment to the ethical support of every woman we serve.
Oh,
You-
sorry. So we do have pillars in our foundation, and today we're going to talk about achieving economic independence. It's through we did conduct few of our workshops around financial literacy. We had wonderful person demonstrating that like how important it is to know your money, managing your money, and also investment basics and entrepreneur skills. So they are the things that we focus because every girl and a woman only also our younger generation boys and girls they need to know how to manage their money if they're going and working somewhere from the age of 15 they should understand what they're doing with that money and how they can actually prepare for a better future and this is where we decided to have one of the pillars as wealth and our second pillar is wellness being a nurse and being in health industry for 15 years that's something I emphasize mental health because if you don't look after your health that wealth is just going to sit there somebody else is going to enjoy and live their best life because we ignore our health especially mental health that's where everything falls apart one little stress can cause so much damage in our body because our organs are not meant to take stress but then we still don't understand how important it is to just give a little bit of a rest listen to your body and understand what it's saying because we kind of ignore the signs and symptoms our body is saying that's enough now I need rest but then we just keep going oh no I need that money I need to do this I need to reach higher. However, that's where this foundation we understand. We give every girl and women to come and just share their journey, seek information, and connect them to the right resources. In setting the boundaries, learning to establish and maintain healthy boundaries, and also self care practice. It's very important as women to self love and self care because we need to love ourselves. We need to embrace ourselves. We don't want somebody else saying you're beautiful. We just have to feel it from within. Just just do it for yourself. You don't have to do it for others. And that's the main purpose. And we have pillar 3, that's confidence. So finding your voice and leadership, which is really important. And Bismi is amazing at this, encouraging every woman because she was able to unmute herself and speak up. And she is a very confident public speaker, and she wants every woman to be that voice, and also how to negotiate skills. And also, she has done, I think you have trained in being a leadership train. I think something like that, Bismi. I think
Mhm.
she has that skill. I think she's a certified leadership trainer now because she was training herself to become that, and now she can because she's running two programs, resilience and leadership training, and we can always connect with Bismi for that. And here we have a safe space, the foundation of empowerment. So it's more than a location where vulnerability becomes strength and respect, confidentiality, and support. We always make sure we respect each and everybody's right and then maintain confidentiality, and also make sure the location, wherever the space is given, online or face to face, it's safe and we understand the physical and emotional needs. So let's take it to
Right.
Maya now. I'll let Bismi do the
Okay.
introduction.
Thank you, Kamala. That is amazing. And today, it's a great day, I would say, because I started with an amazing race for kids in the morning as a leadership program that our BIS Growth Network started. And now we are going to have another wonderful experience, how to understand a trusted HR support. So let me introduce our speaker today, a founder of Work Matters Solution. With more than 25 years of experience in human resources, workplace relations, and organizational development, Maya founded Work Matters Solution with a clear purpose to provide practical, trusted, and people focused workplace advice that genuinely make a difference. Throughout her career, Maya has worked alongside employers and employees across Australia, helping them navigate complex workplace matters with professionalism, integrity, and empathy. She understands that workplace issues are rarely just about policies or legislation. They affect people, businesses, families, and communities. Employers turn to matters solutions because they value practical advice, commercially sound solution, and proactive support that helps them manage risk, remain compliant, and build high performing workplaces. From workplace investigations and performance management to organizational change, leadership coaching, and psychosocial risk management, businesses know they have a trusted partner who genuinely understands the realities of managing people, and it is very hard. Employees seek the support of Maya through Work Matters Solution because they know they will be treated with respect, listened to without judgment, and provided with honest and balanced guidance. Whether navigating a workplace dispute or disciplinary process or redundancy or performance concerns or simply wanting to understand their rights at workplace, or clients receive practical advice tailored to their individual circumstances. And that's where I always recommend Maya, because she is not just giving a general advice. She understands what is our area, what is our workplace, and what is our problem, and then give that tailored advice. What sets Maya or WorkMat Solutions apart is its commitment of fairness, transparency, and doing what is right. Every matter is approached with a professionalism and a genuine desire to achieve positive, sustainable outcomes for everyone involved. Many clients return to matter solutions time and time because they know they can rely consistently with the advice and responsive support and the service built on Maya's trust. Referrals continue to grow through the long-standing relationship and the word of mouth, reflecting the confidence that employers, employees, and organizations place in Maya and her team. At the heart of Work Matters solution is a simple belief, and that's what actually she raised, actually connected with Maya. When people are supported, respected, and empowered, workplaces become stronger, healthier, and more successful because work matters and people matters. So we do understand how the employment are connecting to our lives. So without further ado, I invite Maya to have this conversation of a trusted partnership and then how she can help us to understand all different areas. So I'll allow her to share her screen and then stage is yours, Maya. Thank you.
Fantastic. What a beautiful speech you both gave. Love listening to you and everybody else online. I know quite a few people, so thank you. Look,
I'll stop sharing. I'll let Maya share now.
okay, yeah, thank you. So before I share, I just want to say that just really thankful to both of you, Kamala and Bismi. They got in touch with me and instantly I connected to them. Their journeys, their experience, and what they bring to the table is what I would like collaboration with different people. Absolute amazing group this is, and I really hope that I can continue to support you in any way I can. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start my presentation. There's a number of things I want to cover, both from an employee perspective. And also at the end, perhaps as Kamala mentioned at the beginning, if we can have all those questions, you can just put it in the chat. I'll answer as many as I can, but if there's anything personal, obviously I won't be breaching any privacy. You will just have to make sure that you can contact me and we can take it from there. Thank you. Can you see this, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Right, so I'm just going to go straight into it because I have around 17 slides I want to talk about. So what is HR? So I'm going to talk about that in slide 3. So what do I have in slide 1 and 2 then? So what I'm actually proposing this evening is to talk about the HR toolkit and what it means. So what do I mean by that? So you should know your documents, whether you're an employer or an employee. You should know that you have your voice and that you matter. And something, Bismi, you said at the beginning actually is quite true, and it happens everywhere in every workplace. And know your options. What are your options as an employer and employee, and what do we need to do? So this session is all about providing you with practical HR confidence to make sure that you understand whether it's for you or your family or any loved ones, or even your colleague or your neighbor, to navigate workplace process, documentation, and decisions in the workplace. So what are we going to cover in this session today? So there are 3 pillars as I see when it comes to HR. It's a practical map that I've created, and I think it works every time. The first one is for employees. The second one is for the employers. And the third one is for the community. This is what we are doing today, is the third one. So what is it for the employees and what do we want to achieve out of it? For employees, every one of you or anyone that you know who is an employee need to understand what your rights and responsibilities are in the workplace. You need to know what to ask before meetings. Any meetings that's been arranged in the workplace, you need to understand what it is that you are, what is the reason for that meeting? Why is somebody inviting you? Prepare calmly and keep records. I always say this whenever I train, it doesn't matter who I'm training. If it's not on paper, it's not happened. So you need to make sure that everything is documented. Get clarity before signing, resigning, responding. So that's another thing that we will cover today and what that looks like. For employers, Strengthen process and documentation. You'd be amazed at how many employers that I work with are not good at this at all, and the consequences of it is monumental. Reduce risk before matters escalate. Manage performance, conduct, and change fairly. That's a big thing across Australia, is to how to manage change management fairly in the best possible way and make sure that it's a transparent way of doing things. And support psychosocial safety and respectful workplaces. I have many clients across Australia actually struggling with this concept of psychosocial and what that means, and I'll be covering that later on. And then for the community, like we have now at the moment, is to build confidence in the workplace conversations, is to understand where to seek support, to prevent avoidable conflict and promote fair and respectful outcomes. So that's what I'm looking to actually propose today and go through each section. I know there are people who are not actually in Australia online, but the principles of HR remain the same globally. The only thing that's different, and it's a big thing, of course, is the legislation. So what does HR mean in Australia? In simple terms, HR helps workplaces make fair, consistent, and documented decisions about people, from hiring and pay through to performance, complaints, safety, change, and exits. It is amazing that all this has actually fitted in that one sentence about HR journey, because that's exactly what that is, an employee life cycle from the time that they enter until they exit. For employees, HR should help you understand your role, your pay, your rights in the workplace, your responsibilities, what you're meant to be doing in your workplace, what is extra, what is within your job description, your meeting process, if somebody's calling you a meeting, if it's an HR involved, what does that actually look like? What is the intent of that meeting? Support options. What support do you have in the workplace that will help you navigate through your employment journey? Records and next steps before you respond or you sign. This is a common theme. If you sign something without understanding, then the consequences of that are going to be quite high. So never sign anything without understanding. What is it that you're signing for? For employers, HR helps leaders meet workplace obligations, reduce risk, document decisions, manage issues early, and build safe, respectful, and productive workplaces. I specialize in this. I go into organizations, I look at what they have and what they need, not just for an organization to actually be compliant, but to make sure that the employees are safe. That's what this is all about. So good HR is not just paperwork. It is fairness, safety, evidence-based, clear communication. So who is looking at what's happening in organizations? Who is looking at what's happening with employees? Well, there are quite a few people and bodies looking. The first one is Fair Work Ombudsman. So what does that mean? It means that it's a body that looks after pay, wages, award rates, pay slips, leave, minimum entitlements, and compliance education. So as an organization, if you are not compliant, then they will absolutely know this. Fair Work Commission. What does Fair Work Commission actually do? We hear this all the time. So they deal with unfair dismissal, general protections, bullying, applications, disputes, enterprise agreements, and conciliation. Then the third pillar, which is really prominent at the moment, as I mentioned before, throughout Australia, is safe work and work safe. What does that actually mean, and what do they do? Work health and safety, psychosocial hazards, unsafe workload, violence, bullying risk, and employer safety duties. The fourth pillar is human rights and equal opportunity. What does that actually mean? It means they look at discrimination in the workplace, harassment, victimization, protected attributes such as age, sex, disability, race, or family responsibilities. And the last pillar I want to talk about today is the unions, the lawyers, and the advisors like myself. What do? We represent employers and employees. We provide advice. We help you negotiate where you need to. We support you. We go through a settlement pathways. If you want to separate from your organization and things are not working out, then that's something that Work Matter Solutions would do. And we prepare before any formal steps are taken. So what is the practical point about this slide is that it helps understand the entitlements and compliance. The Commission often deals with formal workplace disputes and application. I have quite a few at the moment from employees across Australia in regards to this. When HR is not done properly, so what happens when HR is not done properly? Small process mistakes can become stressful, costly, and damaging, both to an employer from a cost perspective and to an employee. So what is the impact on employees? Confusion, stress, unsafe work, loss of trust, lost income, poor records, unfair outcomes, and pressure to resign, sign, or respond too quickly. What is the impact on employers? Complaints, claims, investigations, penalties, big one. Compensation, damaged culture, another big one. High turnover, reputational risk, and avoidable legal costs. And what are the common red flags in this area? No written evidence, surprise meetings, rushed decisions, inconsistent treatment, such as singling out, isolation, unclear allegations, poor consultation or no consultation, missing records or ignored safety risks. So let's just pause for a minute and look at this slide. What is the simple rule here? Is to pause, whether you're an employee or employer, clarify the process, write it down, allow a response, and then decide fairly what is the best thing to do. For employees, you should know what is happening before you respond. If you're unclear, do not respond. Attend a serious meeting, sign a document, or make a major workplace decision. And it's not always about paperwork, it is also about what you say. What you say in the workplace, who do you say it to? What is the reason of actually sharing that information? As well as, I would go as far as trusting. Who do you trust in the workplace? And what is the purpose of having some conversations? Employee watch list. So as an employee, what should you be looking out for in terms of the HR documents? So you're an employee, you get recruited, you get an offer letter. In many organizations, even today across Australia, companies are not issuing employment agreements. Two reasons. One is they don't think there is a need to. Two, so that it's easy for them to get rid of the employee. It is important that you understand this. No offer letter, no employment agreement, no job. Please do not go for that. Probationary periods are poorly managed in organizations. It's important that you understand your rights to do with that and what that looks like. Same with pay, awards. What is it that you should be getting paid? Hours, when should you be getting allowances, etc. And flexibility. Work-life balance is key. What does it mean for the companies, but also what does it mean for you? And flexible working opportunities, policies, and everything around that government is actually endorsing, which is a good thing. So say your role changes. So when your role changes, what does that look like? Your role is changing, and some companies would package it as, oh, it's just a small change. There's nothing, it's not much is happening, but the fact that your duties will change, your workload may change, reporting line, location is one big one. title, hours, or pay. Now, all this is in your watch list. You must be careful when your company tells you about any of this to make sure you understand before you agree to anything. When you are called to a meeting, now, say if you're called to a meeting, I'm working on a case at the moment where the lady was called to a meeting without telling her what it was about. When she questioned to say, I need to make arrangements. Do I bring a support person? What do I do? What is it about? They said, we can't give you this information. And there was HR present in that meeting and a senior leader. That person had my contact details. They contacted me. I immediately said, I would like to be in that meeting. I attended that meeting, and what happened? It was about redundancy. This person knew nothing about it. They didn't know where it was coming from, and it was extremely poorly handled. I have another example where the poor lady was asked to come to a performance meeting, didn't know anything about it. Her friend is my friend, so that's how I got to know. I attended the meeting with her. The employer didn't know who I was, so continued on a poor pathway, one can assume. And at the end, I said, none of this is acceptable, and we will be seeking compensation. And it changed the dynamic of the entire conversation. So be careful when you're called in for a meeting. When something feels unfair, now intuition is the biggest thing that you own. If something feels unfair, it's more than likely that it is unfair. So you need to make sure that you don't make excuses about somebody else's poor behavior or less favorable behavior. You need to understand it from an objective perspective and see what is happening or not happening. To Bismi's point before, and it's unfortunate that I didn't know you, Bismi, because I can really help people in this sort of environment, is bullying, exclusion, discrimination, retaliation, unsafe workplace or workload, in fact, or unclear process. This is just a small section. Everything I'm talking about is just bite size. There's a lot more to this. When employment may end. Now, this is the part that I have a lot of cases at the moment where it's to do with redundancy, unfair dismissal, termination. Even if they follow the process, if they miss one step, that's all they need to do is miss one step. Resignation. I have so many people say, all I want is a reference, please. That's all I want. Now, this is where I'm going to be bold and say this platform of She Rise is very encouraging. You have to empower yourself. You have to be courageous. You have to not think very little of yourself to say, all I need is a reference. You have to understand if you're poorly treated, if you feel that there is a case, if you feel that there's injustice, if you feel that you have been hurt, humiliated, I can't force anyone, but I'm highly likely to say that you must think twice before thinking that all you need is a reference. Reference is a requirement. It is not going to make you feel any different. What you want to do is you want to work with respect. You want to leave with respect. I always coach employers, board members, managers, always treat people the way that you brought them in is how they should be leaving. Whether it's a redundancy, whether it's a termination, doesn't matter what it is, with respect and dignity. When companies take away respect and dignity, or when you feel that somebody has hurt or humiliated you, that's when we start thinking about what is right and what is wrong. So the practical rule is do not rush ever. Doesn't matter who forces you. Do not sign under pressure or duress. And do not attend a serious meeting unsupported. I do pro bono work. 20% of my work is free. I've been doing it for about 25 years. I take great pride in what I do. So if there are anybody that are struggling out there, single mothers or young people, who don't know how to navigate themselves, do not have the finances, then my company will support. Employee documents to understand. And this is a very small portion, by the way. This is just the ones that have the high risk that I've written down. Is your documents tell a story of your role, your obligation, and your opinions and options. Number one is your employment agreement. What does that mean? Classification, which means award. Where do you sit in your industry? Your salary, your hours, your location. I mean, it's interesting, but a lot of the agreements I see actually don't have location in it because it's easy for them to move you around. Probation, what does that look like? Notice and flexibility. They should be the minimum in your employment agreement. I've not mentioned this, but I think it's really important to mention is the privacy and the confidentiality of this as well. In the workplace, do not share. Yes, you can share in Australia, but please do not share your details because not everybody's going to be happy in what you receive. Variation letters, what does that mean? It means that a company gives you a variation, gives you a letter to say that, look, we're just going to move you from this department to the other. Everything stays the same. You must ask for a variation letter. And if they say, well, there's no need because you're just moving from one department to the other, no, that's a change to employment agreement. You need a letter. Remember what I said? If it's not on paper, it has not happened. Why do we need that? We need that as an assurance. We want to make sure that we have any change in the workplace documented. In many places, I have seen where the company would say, or the team would say, I've just added 3 or 4 other extra duties. It's a part of your, that one line that you have in the position description, any extra duties. Very quickly, though, 3, 4 duties turn into at least 20, 30% of your role, in which case you must ask for more remuneration. That's why it's important that everything is documented. Warnings or PIPs. This is a very sensitive topic. I see it all the time. Warnings are issued very loosely in many companies where they would just say, look, I've just warned you, I've cautioned you. These are the words that they would use. This warning I have seen companies give warnings, written warnings with no end date, which means that you are warning until you're with them, for example, which means you're always looking out to say, hang on, what have I done? What have I not done? What do I need to do? No. You need to make sure if somebody's putting you on a written warning that it has an end date. And you need to make sure that that is actually agreed. Any specific concerns that they have and why they have put you on a warning, they need to be compliant, they need to be policy-led and need to be legislative. If they are not, and if they're just saying this for the sake of saying it, or if they don't like you, could be many reasons, by the way, or they just want you out and they're just preparing for your exit, that is simply not good enough. Meeting invites. Need to know what the meeting invite is for, the purpose of the meeting. One big thing that people miss out is you need to know who is attending that meeting. I always ask, who is attending that meeting? And they will say, oh, we're not sure. Well, no, you need to let me know who is attending because as a representative, I need to know who is attending. Same with employees. Possible outcomes of that meeting and whether support is allowed. Isn't that interesting? That many, many serious conversations are held without even being asked or told, you're welcome to bring a support person. Now, when you are hurt, when you're confused, when you're unsure, a lot of the words that are being said to you, you're actually not going to remember them. So it's important that you have a support person who is going to be totally unbiased and paying full attention to what is said, but also to what is not said, because that's where the gray area is. Exit paperwork. What does that look like? Why do we need exit paperwork? Say, for example, I'm terminated and a beautiful, wonderful consultation process has followed. They've ticked all the boxes. It's all ticked legally. It's compliant. No problem at all. I'm asked to leave. Okay. There's no letter. There's nothing there for me to say that why this happened. All they say is you don't need to come from tomorrow. Now, when people go through this process, sometimes they have a delayed reaction and they actually don't understand. They're not thinking straight. But once they leave the building and they go home and they discuss it with the loved ones, it becomes quite clear that perhaps there are some gaps in the process. Or perhaps I wasn't consulted the way that I should have. Or I wasn't asked about this, or I wasn't given an opportunity to respond. Could be anything. Now, if it's not on paper, the whole conversation has not happened. The process has not happened. You must ask for full exit paperwork, and there's a checklist that I have that you must ask from there. Serious HR meetings. What does that, what does that look like? When should you prepare? When should you pause? And when should you respond? Okay. A support person, I write this for myself because that's who I am. When I or any of my team members, they attend as a support people or person, they prepare. I have trained my team to say, stay calm. Be very clear why you are there and protect your employee or an employer, whoever that you are supporting. Before the meeting, ask what the meeting is about, whether it may lead to an outcome, who will attend that meeting, and whether you can bring a support person. During the meeting, listen, take notes, ask for evidence. This is very, very important. If somebody has complained about you and there is no evidence to show, I would not be attending that meeting. I would need to know, I need a copy of the complaint. I need to understand where this has come from. If there's some video footage that they have, I need to see the video footage, whatever it is. Evidence is key. Ask for breaks. And again, this is a missed opportunity in Australia. I don't see this much. Is when you have these sort of meetings, just say that I would like a break. I can't carry on like this for another hour. I just need a break for 2 minutes, 5 minutes to regroup your thinking with your support person. What is your strategy? So if there is a tense moment, it breaks it and then you go back to it. Do not guess. I have a lot of people guessing what this looks like. Please, guessing doesn't take you anywhere. 70% of the things that you are thinking are not even happening. So please do not think negatively. Do not guess anything. Go by the facts. Do not agree to anything that you do not understand. For me, it's easy to sit here and go through this. But what is difficult is for people who are not in HR. The same can be said for accountants or lawyers. We know our craft. It's very easy for me to say, do this, do that. But if you don't understand it, no action. Pause. So what's required after the meeting then? So you've had a meeting, what now? Request notes. I always say, if you have an online meeting, you must get them to record it. If they decline, and I have time and time again where some companies decline to record it, that's the problem right there. There's no transparency. Confirm your understanding in writing. Check deadlines. So some companies will tell you that we want feedback from you in 3 days' time, whatever that looks like. You must confirm that deadline. Is it 3 working days or 3 days? So that sort of clarity is important. Get advice before responding formally. If it affects your job, do not try and save a few dollars. It's not worth it. What is really important is try and understand where you need to draw the line in the sand. So what are some sort of helpful questions that you can ask as part of this process? What process am I in? What evidence is being relied upon? What outcome is possible? And can I have time to respond? And these are really important, simple 4 questions that could potentially save your job or could get you a compensation at the end. Another key area I want to talk about is performance. Performance for employees, me supporting clients in terms of employers for performance, that looks like this is not just about employees, it's also employers as well, and investigations and exits. In these 3 areas, one of the key things is to look at is the process fair? Do we have evidence? And do we have enough time to respond? Performance management in many companies is poorly managed. Let's put it this way. What do I mean by this? If somebody is not performing, or if they don't know that they are not performing well, or they have not had the training to actually do their job properly, and then there is a requirement for them to perform at an optimum. And if at any point they fall short of performing, they get sent a letter, which is called a performance improvement letter, to say you need to improve your performance. But in many places, the employee has never even heard that he or she was not performing well. No information has been provided prior. There's no evidence, there's no sampling where the employee thinks, oh, yes, I knew this already, that this was coming. Because managers, team leaders, supervisors don't address it at all because they let it slide, and they will only address it when things become too serious. My advice to employers is to make sure, even before you talk about performance management, look at the position description, look at the induction plan that they had when they entered the organization, and look at the training plan. Have they done all the required training? Have you supported? If the answer is yes to everything and they're still not performing, that's fine. Let's talk about having an informal method of bringing them back on track. Formal method is the last method to use. In a performance management situation, concerns should be specific, documented, and manageable. You should receive clear expectations about your performance, support, a fair time frame, and a genuine chance to respond. I'm going to talk about, again, what's called the PIP, Performance Improvement Plan. I always question companies when they want to start a performance improvement plan at 6 weeks, and they give 6 weeks to an employee to adjust. I would always say start at 4 weeks. Why do you want to give somebody 6 weeks? Because then you can always extend after 4 weeks. Give them an opportunity so that they understand that they can fix themselves, they can look at the performance, and we can help and support them as an employer. Another big one for me is workplace investigations. I have them throughout Australia. What does that mean? That means what Bismi was saying before. There is a bullying situation in the workplace, on the floor, or somebody has complained about somebody, and it's to do with of sexual conduct, or it's a misconduct, serious misconduct. Somebody's used drugs or alcohol on site. There's all sorts of issues and areas that I deal with. And for that, I always say we need to ask for clear allegations. What does that look like? Confidentiality expectation. Nothing is more important than managing the privacy and confidentiality of both the employee and the employer and any parties involved. Process steps and enough time to provide your response and evidence. Another big one is across Australia is unfair exits. Is do not resign, as I said, mentioned before. Do not sign a deed under pressure. What is a deed? I write deeds all the time for employers. They call me up, they get me to write deeds for them, and I do that. What does that mean? That means it's a legal document. So it's a legal arrangement that the employee has made with an employer before they exit. This allows both parties to go separately, ensuring that dignity, respect, and anything else that they have agreed on in terms of ex gratia payments, etc., is managed properly. You need to make sure that you check the documents. If there is a exit happening, unfair exit happening for you, make sure that you see what the final pay, your final pay slip is very important. You must always ask for final pay slip. I know that a lot of companies don't, and they just give you the final pay in your bank. No, you need a copy of your pay slip to see what is it that has happened. Because when it comes to me, say if you decide to come to me with an unfair exit, I would be asking for all this information. And you need to make sure that you have the process and possible next steps documented. The strongest employees are not the loudest. They are prepared, organized, and clear. For employers, this is what I do again one of my clear strengths here is to make sure that I create an environment of people, culture, and well-being, which is proactive, not to wait for a situation to arise, rather set in a framework that actually supports the employees and the employers in the long run. Create a fair process, protects people and the organization. Strong HR is not paperwork for the sake of paperwork. It is risk control and good leadership. Employer HR essentials. And these are just 5 basics. There are many to this. I had an employer call me, a new employer actually, called me 2 weeks ago, New South Wales, said, look, we want you to set up something really basic. I'm going to hire 4 or 5 people. Don't need any drama, just something basic. Now, even with basic, you need to make sure that you're compliant. And what does that look like? You need to have contracts and roles in place. You need to have templates in place for the specific industry, specific role. You need to make sure that you have position description. It doesn't matter if there's only 4 people or 40 or 400 in your organization. You need to make sure that it's a right classification. You're getting the right pay for the job and the industry that you work in. Same with pay, duties, and reporting lines. That's basic number 1. Number 2, policies and standards. You don't need so many policies in the company. They never work. I've been doing this for 28 years. I can tell you that the companies that have the largest amount of policies library are the ones that are not actually functioning well. You need few, you need good ones, you need ones that are relevant to the industry, you need ones that will actually, that everybody on the floor understands it, and you need the one that is actually refreshed and reviewed on an annual basis. Some key ones here that I get all my clients to make sure that they are compliant, and they have. Number 1 is a code of conduct policy. What does that mean? That means it is a behavioral standard. What is allowed, what is not allowed, what does not allowed look like in terms of misconduct and or serious misconduct. Bullying. What bullying and harassment policy is a must. There is no 2 ways about it. And what does that look like? Is it compliant? Do people understand what bullying actually means? This is a word that's unfortunately used quite loosely by many. And it is so when I get a grievance, for example, from a company, and I'm called in as an independent investigator to investigate, only the person going through it is going to call it bullying. Very few people around you are going to say that it is bullying, because they will say, oh, it was just a behavior, etc. But that is actually bullying. So the legal element is really important to understand what bullying actually means, what harassment means, because there's totally different side to that. Discrimination, grievances, and the privacy expectations are really important in the workplace. And we have to make sure that we are compliant all the time. And as I said, you need to think about why I'm saying something to somebody in the workplace, even if you're going through something. For example, you're going through, unfortunately, I hope not, but if anybody's going through any of this, make sure that you're only talking to the right channel, right people, whether it's an EAP provider or HR. Do not discuss this with anybody else on the floor. Process discipline. What do I mean by that? It's clear letters. You want to make sure that you have, as an employer, you have the right templates in place. You can get template. It's really, sometimes it's quite laughable where companies tell me, well, I go on ChatGPT and it creates me a template. Yes, it does. It's not compliant. So when you go and you pull up all these templates, some can be just compliant, some can be non-compliant, some I would not even take it to fair work. And that is the problem that we face with AI. Meeting notes, make sure you have your meeting notes with your date and who is attending and the purpose of it. Evidence, collect any evidence that you think is relevant to your case. Reasonable time frames, make sure that everything is documented and you ask the right questions in terms of time frames. And consistent decision making. As an employer, you want to make sure that you are consistent and there is no favoritism in the workplace. If it's okay for one, it should be okay for everybody, regardless of your role. Leader capability. I'm working on with two board members at the moment in terms of leader capability. And it's quite interesting because what happens is when managers, when they don't have a script and they go out, this is board members, senior leadership team, managers. If they don't have the right script, and if it's a very serious situation that we are dealing with, it can get senior leadership into a lot of trouble. So it's important that they manage those expectations and the communication. Documentation habit and confidence is very important. Another area I want to talk about, which is the last area for this slide, is psychosocial safety. I've talked about this right at the beginning. What does that mean? It means workload, high workload. You have consistently gone to your manager and said, my workload is really high, and they are not responding. Consultation takes place, but it doesn't seem right. You feel like they are holding something back, or the employer, from my perspective and my business perspective, I want to make sure that my employer that I'm supporting is actually making sure that they are doing everything right by the employee in terms of consultation. I want to make sure that as an employer that you have role clarity in your psychosocial space. Conflict and support are active employer obligations. So what are some risks when it comes to being an employer then? It's always the small mistakes that gives you that will give them the biggest disputes. I have seen this many times. Recruitment and onboarding, unclear duties given to employees. Wrong classification can get you as an employer into a lot of trouble. Poor induction. So if it's a poor induction, little bit of training or no training, you get rid of them, or you get rid of a new employee as part of the probationary period. You've done everything right by the book. You've followed what you need to do, but you were wrong at the beginning with the recruitment and onboarding, and missing probation records. If there are no records, it has not happened. So that's key here. Another employer risk is performance and conduct. Vague concerns. I go into some meetings when I'm supporting my client as an employer, and they are talking about concerns to the employees, but it doesn't sound like a particular concern. It sounds like I'll just bring in this, that, and the other, and that can get them into a lot of trouble. Again, no evidence, it has not happened. Inconsistent standards. Just because I like Maya, I'm going to favor her no matter what she does. Just because I don't like somebody else, I'm going to make sure that I keep an eye on this person. Not allowed. Or surprise outcomes. I see a lot of organizations I'm dealing with in Queensland at the moment where it's a normal conversation. It can be fixed. Next minute, the person is out. Surprise outcome. It's a no-no for an employer. Workplace complaints. What does that look like? Confidentiality breaches is a big thing. Please, 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 and I've mentioned this before, do not mention anything to anybody on the floor unless and until there's a purpose for it. Retaliation risk. Whistleblowing is a big one. Unmanaged conflict or inadequate investigation scope. Some people just want to go through an investigation. I'd have employers to say, I just want to give him a warning. Well, it's doing an investigation, going through the process, going through a disciplinary process. It's actually a legal process. You can't just do this. There needs to be a legal reason for it. Change and restructure. I have quite a few in Victoria at the moment where the scenery is changing for a lot of clients and companies, and they want to downsize. And what they're doing is they're going through some, not all, of course, some quick and dirty, which means I'm going to get rid of 70 odd people, and this is how I think I'm going to do it. There's a legal reason for it. Let's get on with it. Okay, if you have a legal reason, that's fantastic, which I will obviously check. But how about the consultation process? I want this done quickly. Weak consultation, unclear rationale. This is where when employers end up in fair work and I support them or I'm against them, it depends on who the client is. Unclear rationale can give you a lot of pain. You do not want to do that. Poor redeployment assessment. What does that mean? It means I'm losing my job. Somebody tells me I've lost my job and there is a legal reason for it. That's fine. But they have not actually made any attempt to look for an alternative redeployment option for me. That can get you into trouble. Or rushed decisions. Again, to a point of my client before, I want to get this done quickly. That's a rush decision, and that's not right. Exits and settlements. I do this. I provide support for employers as well. When incorrect final pay, deed pressures. Again, this is really important. Poor record keeping or missed procedural fairness. So that leads nicely to what a fair process model looks like. Use the same practical sequence before major employment decisions. Clarify, what is the concern or decision that I want to change? Evidence, what documents, facts, and dates support it? Communicate, what has been put in writing and explained so far? Respond, has the person been genuine, and is the change genuine? And decide, is the outcome proportionate, fair, and recorded? Good HR process should be fair, respectful, confidential, and based on evidence, not assumptions or gossip. Who is actually involved? Understanding each role helps avoid confusion, pressure, and mixed messages. An employee is involved, receives information, asks questions, responds, and keeps records. Manager is involved, explains expectations, evidence, support, and operational impact. HR and/or people leader guides processes, documentation, procedural fairness, and manages risk in the workplace. Support person provides support in the room, in meetings, and outside meetings, and helps the person stay calm and clear. And external support. It can be anybody in the safety element, it can be your union, it can be Fair Work, it can be legal or specialist advice like we have at Work Matter Solutions, depending on the matter. No one's role should control the whole story. Each of these areas, each of these 5 individuals, if you like, have clear roles, clear records, and clear process that will help reduce the risk for both the employer and the employee. So what can we at Work Matter Solutions do? Now that you have heard most of this, is for employees. We review offers. We write employment agreements. We look after warnings as an employee. If you've been given warnings or if you're attending a meeting, we manage that for you. If you've been given a PIP, if there's a conversation of performance improvement plan, we make sure that it's done properly and it's aligned with legislation. If there's any proposals of termination letters and no deeds, we will make sure that you get the maximum compensation. Prepare meeting questions. So if you are asked to go to meetings and you don't know the type of questions to ask, everything is based on the information that you ask for and is provided to you. We give you those questions to ask. Responses. Attend as an external support person. We can do that, no problem, and help organize evidence and next steps. For employers, so if you're an employer, how can Work Matter Solutions help you? We can review your current HR documentation that you may have on file that you think is compliant. For employers, we do free audits, so we do not charge for them. And we process risk. We look at the risk to the organization with what you have at the moment, and we give a clear report to the board and/or senior management team or whoever's in charge to say whether your documentation and the process and the framework, policies, procedures are compliant or not. If not, what is the risk to you as an employer and how we can help to bridge those gaps. We can draft letters, scripts, policies, procedures. We can set up frameworks. We can support performance of your employees. We can conduct grievances, meetings, internal investigations. We can do suspensions, terminations, redundancies. We can navigate any restructure and or reorg change, no matter how big it is. We can coach managers, leaders through any fair processes. What I've not mentioned in here is also training. We also provide training for the middle managers, and that can be on any soft skill or anything that they need any mentoring and coaching on. At this stage, we can help you pause, clarify the process, protect the record, and move forward professionally. Practical checklist before your next HR step should be pause. Do not sign or agree immediately. Clarify, ask what processes you are in and what outcome is possible. Document, keep dates, emails, texts, even messages on Microsoft Teams, rosters, notes in witnesses. Support, ask for support and time to prepare. Respond, stay factual, calm, and professional. I cannot emphasize enough on this. If you're rattled, and if you're not in control of the situation, it can pretty quickly get out of control. So you must try and stay as calm as you can and review, get advice before final decisions or deadlines. Good outcomes start with good information. Thank you. Questions?
That's great. Thank you, Maya. I was like going through my all experience from last November and then so far now. It's an amazing way of bringing how the employees and employers are thinking and then what needs to be done that way. I will start with some questions that I got from some members who already registered but they couldn't join, and then we'll go to the audience.
Sure.
So one thing they mentioned, uh, they had a bullying experience and they couldn't deal with the management meeting because they were not um, supporting. And then she went to sick leave for 4 weeks. But within that 4 weeks, she sent an email that she is resigning. And then the HR sent back, okay, your resignation is accepted. And I think she didn't have any leave she was having without pay. So they confirmed the resignation and then she couldn't do anything after. The question is that an unfair exit, whether she can do anything about that? Because mentally she can't really go back, but she was just thinking, is that fair or not?
There's few elements to this. One is, did she put in a resignation letter?
She emailed to the HR
Yeah.
saying that
Number
she's
two,
going.
has she given the reason why she's resigning
She
in that
mentioned
letter?
her mental stress,
Mm-hmm.
and then gone with
Yeah.
the stress leave.
Okay. Look, there's many elements to this. There's
Mm,
obviously depends on when it happened as well. So
okay.
generally, you should complain within the first 21 days of an exit of
Okay.
you
Right.
exiting the company.
Okay.
There are other things you can do from a general protections perspective, but I'm just talking about fair work in this instance. And
Yeah.
within 21 days, the sooner you do it, the better it is.
Mm,
We are not anybody to judge a situation, but just by listening to what she's probably gone through, I'm
mm.
assuming that she would have told the employer, she would have put in a complaint of bullying. That's what you need to
She
do.
did. Yeah. Mm,
It needs to be in writing.
mm,
And then you need to see what the employer has done in return, if anything. And then if they've not done anything, or I find it very hard, I don't understand why employers wouldn't take this seriously, and they've not done anything and they expect that, she just carries on, then that's a problem in itself. So if she meets within the window, absolutely she can. But she will have to have a lot of evidence to say that she exited because of the employer not actually,
mm.
listening to her complaint, so to speak. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Because I do not know the extra details. I
Yeah.
can't really give you other details.
No
But
problem.
if you're listening our recording, just come back and then I'll arrange a session with Maya. All right. So I'll go with the next question. So where is the limit of favoritism? When can I talk to the person who is showing favoritism? Or should I directly go to the HR?
Okay. I always think that it is always good to be open and honest, and the sooner you deal with it, the better it is. So if it is your colleague or if it is your manager, there is no harm in having, if it's with your manager and you want to address something with your manager, when you have your one-on-one, you should address it to say, I feel this way. Do not, it's all about how we package ourselves. What we say really is important. If I say, for example, that Bismi, you are doing this, so instantly you are stopping. You're not even listening to what I'm saying. But if I say that what I am witnessing or what I'm thinking is making me feel this way, am I right or am I wrong? Because I'm feeling this way. It's very hard to actually turn that down for somebody to say, well, why are you feeling this way? Because I am. You've created the situation where I feel that there is favoritism going on. And if they said, well, I'm really sorry, I didn't think that there was a problem. How have you reached to that conclusion? Then you must absolutely know some of your examples before you get into those sort of conversations. Safe space is really important when you have these conversations, and also making sure that you perhaps write down what you're saying as well, rather than going straight off the cuff without a script. It becomes quite out of control very quickly.
Yeah, that's a very sensitive topic to have a conversation as well, right? I'll go with the next question from one of their friends. Like, can we recruit without advertising? And if it is happening, can we notify that to the HR?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe it's related to that
Yeah.
favoritism.
It depends, two things really. One, it depends whether, okay, it also depends if it's a new role or if it's an existing role. That's number one. Number
Mhm.
two, if it's a new role and it has not actually gone out to anybody on the floor and they go directly outside, that's a problem. If they've not advertised and they get somebody in, that's a problem as well. It does not follow the equal opportunity, and I would absolutely put that forward to the HR team. Yeah.
So another question is like, this is from, I think she left the conversation. So she is a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
She is an A&M, and then she got the skill set as well. But because she's a single mom now going through the family violence, the manager is asking her to come down back to the normal nurse, don't do the A&M. And then she's putting the conversation like, oh, you're going through too much now, so you should come down. But the reality is that she wanna bring her someone into that role.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then she actually said no because I know a little bit about the incident. So she said no. After saying no, the manager is actually bringing the different complaint against her, saying that your conversation was not good, you were angry with this person. So that sort of like proving that she's not ready for NM because of the existing situation. So the question that she wanted to check, can this manager ask her to go down, or should she go back to the HR about that?
Two things here. Again, you remember one of my slides said if it's not on paper, it hasn't happened. So when she went up, was it on paper? If it was on paper, then that's what it is. That's the role. If the role then becomes just putting aside the differences, but if the role is then required to rescope, then that needs to go through a consultation process. And if the manager has not consulted through that process and said, no, you need to go down because of, whatever the situation may be, it depends on what he or she has told her, because it's actually illegal to say these things where, you're a single mom and I think that, get somebody else. No, it is legally your role you want to make sure that your role is protected.
Mm.
If it's not on paper, and if those were just extra duties that she had to take on as a higher duties, if you like, and she's getting an extra allowance for the higher
Mm.
duties,
Yes.
and if they're saying, well, you just need to go back to your substantive role, which will not include any of these higher duties, then the organization can perhaps do that. Yes, they can, because it's higher duties. It's not changing your substantive role. You were just given these extra responsibilities. That's one. Number two is if the person feels that they are now targeting that person because that person is not stepping down, is actually still in that role and wants that person out, whether it's through just the higher duties element or out of that particular role, then that person needs to start making some notes to make sure that
Mm.
they are making notes, and all this information that they had asked before, you need to step down, etc., for your family reasons, whatever those are, you need to start documenting it, and then you need to address them with HR.
Great. So it's a bit more giving confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a couple of chats there, but from Lay, but if I'll allow you to ask directly, but I just want to ask one of my personal question,
Sure,
maybe
sure.
a bit, I don't know how whether you can answer that. The question is more like everyone's saying that HR always support employer, not employee. So there's no point that you put the complaint to the HR because they never support
Sorry,
you.
Bismi, I lost you there for a second. I think there was a signal issue. Can you repeat that
Yeah.
question again?
Now I was saying that I don't know whether it's a myth or reality. They always say that the HR department
Mm,
always support employers, not employees. I
mm-hmm,
felt a little bit like that
mm,
in my incident as well. Initially, they were very
mm.
compassionate, but when they did a mistake,
Yes.
I told that this is not what I was expecting
Yeah.
because in my
Yeah.
case, who complained or who did problem to me, they actually moved that person to a different role without even telling me, even though she was reporting to me. So I raised that, and then she gave me like a two-page, whatever the roles and responsibilities, you shouldn't be doing this, doing that, all those things. So I
Mm,
personally felt like halfway through, HR
mm,
was not for me, for the organization.
mm.
So the question is that the truth or is that depending upon the situation?
Two things. It's not true. It doesn't depend on a situation. It depends on the HR person and or the department or the company that they
Mm,
have. For example, like I do a lot of outsourcing for clients. I am absolutely the middle ground, the most unbiased person on the floor. I'm not for the employer, I'm not for the employee, I'm for the right. Whatever is right, whatever
mm,
right looks like, you know.
mm.
But it absolutely depends on that person, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. And I'll leave that to Leif to answer your question.
Hello.
So I think you muted Leif. Can't hear you. You muted now. So you need to unmute. Yes.
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Hello.
I was like, I just realized that I was on hold.
It's okay.
Um, yeah, so can you read my question?
So the question is like, what happens if you know that a business does not have any of these policies or don't even have a HR platform?
What happens?
Yes.
What happens to who? The employee or the employer?
The business.
The business. So the business is absolute at risk,
Okay.
is at heightened risk, which basically means that if there's anybody that complains, or if there's an incident that happens, whether it's safety incident or an incident that happens in-house, even with two employees, what happens, just so that we know here, what happens in many cases is if this happens and they don't have any HR or they don't have any platform or anything at all, it's only good until it's not caught. When it's caught, companies get shut down. As simple as that. Okay. If you're not compliant, companies get shut down, or you get red notices, or you get penalties. There's lots of reasons why, not lots, there's just endless reasons why the companies need to do it. Or as all this hard work that companies do, like myself, I have set up a really good company, I feel. And if it's not supported, if I'm not supporting my employees, I can lose everything pretty quickly too. So it's really important for organizations to realize that. Yeah.
So why would some businesses skip that importance of what you're teaching today? Like, because
Yes,
I
it's
won't name names, but
yeah,
just
sure. It's predominantly having they think it's a safety blanket by not having anything written down. And that's one. Number two is saving costs because it's seen as a support function. And unfortunately, many years ago and decades ago, I don't think everybody's as old as I'm here, but the HR used to be seen as a nice to have function, I suppose. And it's obviously evolved, and now it's necessary, and there's a necessity, and all these external bodies are there watching employers. So there are many reasons why employers might not have it. But if they don't have it and if something happens, then they're going to be in trouble very quickly. And there's penalties imposed by a number of bodies. Yeah.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's interesting. Okay. Yeah, or Ramya was telling that I think lack of
Yes.
knowledge for business on importance of HR work. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Perfect. Yes.
That's great.
Good.
Any questions? Anybody? Such comments?
I'll go, Bismi, as
Yes,
usual.
please,
So
Ramya.
no comments, nothing, but it was an absolute, I don't know, golden nugget to be in this session today. It was pleasure being here. I was just coming in to support Bismi and Komala, but I realized there is a lot that we can learn, either as an employee or as a business owner. So I will share one of my incident that recently happened to me. I work as a HR in a larger organization with heaps of policies, which you said, Maya, when you have a lot of policies, you get lost. I worked in that kind of organization where the only people team was like 42 members in people team, HR team. So imagine the organization. I've been facing discrimination from my own manager and lady manager. And just purely because I'm a mother of children, 2 children. And their policy, I was so surprised. As a HR, I've been in Australia for 13 years now. I've seen for the first time an organization saying like you can't be a primary carer when you are working from home. So it's written in their policies that you can't be a primary carer. I'm like, what if someone goes with this policy, like, you can't be a primary carer? Because in the interview, I've clearly said the expectation that I'm a mother of 2 children. I have my own business. They've accepted everything. They said flexible, you can do, like, we are very flexible. Everything is okay here. Straight on the day two, everything changed. I finished up my previous work. I moved into here. Everything changed on the day two itself. They said like you can't do your business, you can't promote anything on socials, which is fair, understandable. That's separate story. But you can't work from home until 6 weeks, Monday to Friday for 6 weeks. I've been there for 8 till 4, literally 8 till 4. Imagine my husband's stress through those 6 weeks, like dropping, picking. You can't drop, you can't pick up. There is a flexible arrangement policy which I had to sign. Everything happened within 6 months. I'm out of the organization because I couldn't survive. So these things are happening everywhere now. I think it's more important that people like you come out and speak on behalf of employees, because when Bismi said like most of the times we see HRs working for the organizations, but I have seen like as a HR myself, I'm absolute middle ground. I would never assume anything, not judging anyone, but just go with the fact or the reality. But there are HRs, there are people, which you said, Maya, it depends on people. Absolutely right, because it's just how it works. But again, we need some sort of knowledge about like who is there out to help us. It's really very important. So that's the feedback. Like absolutely good session. And really I enjoyed the way how you have explained both like employees, how you help in your business. Good to be here.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank
it
you,
was a
Ramya.
big feedback, I guess, but yes, it's a good feedback.
Yeah, I'm glad that it helped because we are actually trying to educate, not just by, coming here online, but sharing the recording. So yes, it's great to see that it is helping. So if you do not have any more question, we can go to the next slide, or do you have any more questions? Just looking for any. Noted. Yes.
I could probably share a perspective as a previous HR manager.
Mhm.
So in my early career, I was a HR manager, and I can assure you I was 100% just like Maya, unbiased,
Mhm.
the middle ground, the mediator, the person who helps smooth it all over, because sometimes it's just a misunderstanding and it gets out of hand. And have faith, because there are people out there that are working in businesses. Sometimes the bad experiences speak louder than sometimes a good experience. You know, the age old reason that often people don't complain until something goes wrong. Yeah. So just remember, sometimes give your HR person a go, give them the benefit of the doubt, because sometimes I've been very pleasantly surprised by experiences that sometimes they are. They are the good person who's trying to stay in the middle ground and provide support for everyone. And there's really obvious signs that will come up very clearly early on in the process if they're very employer focused and you feel like you're not being heard. So don't write them all off yet.
Well
Thank you.
said.
Thank you. That's great. All right. I had I'm just thinking about the, organizations like volunteering organizations. Question is that similar rules applied to the volunteers or people who are bringing volunteers into this non-profit organizations, Maya?
Yeah, look, I think I've had few not-for-profit organizations approach me and said, "Do we have to do anything?" Because they're just volunteers.
Hmm.
It's a very poorly positioned
Hmm.
situation.
Yeah.
I'm a volunteer in the community. I expect
Yeah.
to be safe on that floor. I
Correct.
expect that there is a safe environment provided by the employer, even if I'm a
Hmm.
volunteer. And I expect the same treatment, respect, and integrity as a paid
Hmm.
employer.
Hmm.
And that is a big, if you like, it's one of those areas that is not actually taken seriously, because it's almost like, oh, like I have quite a few, they say, oh, it's just a volunteer. Okay, so what if that volunteer falls in your office?
Hmm.
Who's liable?
Yeah.
And there's so many different areas like that. So people, paid, unpaid, casual, fixed term, permanent, full-time, independent contractors, part-time, everybody should be looked after.
Hmm.
Everybody should know, that they are taken care of from a safety perspective. And also they need to sign an NDA to make sure that there's information specifically for volunteers,
Hmm.
that no information goes out, that information belongs to the company, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter, and they would be
Yeah.
treated as such. Yeah.
Great. All right.
Mm.
Thank you. And then we are also looking forward to make those things and
Mhm.
make sure that we follow those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, Janelle, for the comment and the chat. Thank you. So I'm actually going to the next slide if you do not have any questions, and that will help us to finish on time as well. Just an announcement for our people and who you know around your world as well. What She Rise is going to do in December to celebrate our 1 year anniversary. Um, in contrast to the awards and recognition, we are actually inviting the real and raw stories of women empowerment. That can be any children and any adult. So the stories our longer term vision is to actually publish that as a book. But this year in December, when we celebrate, we are trying to celebrate the real and raw stories of empowerment of 5 people, five women, including girls. So if you think that you have a story and if you think that someone else got a story, we are inviting the stories, and then stories will be going evaluation and then figure out whether that's really giving value to the community and that empowerment is going through the real wounds, scars, and pain. And then we will be putting 5 people to our audience. And if they're ready to be, known to the public, we will be identifying their identity. Otherwise, we will be celebrating their stories, de-identifiable way, because some people always want to stay behind the scene to continue their life in peace. So, including myself, because I don't, even though I share a lot around the social media, I actually block lots of people to give my voice and myself peace of mind. So that's sort of like an invitation. I would love to get the real and raw stories of women empowerment, and then we will be helping them with some coaching and resilient mindset as well. So share the word around, and that's how we shall help everyone come and actually join a bit late, but again, welcome. So how you can actually join She Rise? As Maya mentioned before, we are looking forward to do the the whole HR point of view, how we can involve volunteers. We are in the middle of getting our DGR status as well. We would love to get the volunteers and mentors, because we are bringing this education as one of our major area of supporting the community. We connected to Melton and Wyndham councils, and they're pretty happy for us to be the educators for those counselors. And then, as Kamala mentioned, I am a certified pro coach mentor and a mentor for family violence as well. So we are trying to bring the education to the community, but you can support being a volunteer or a mentor. So far we are very fortunate to having wonderful speakers coming in a pro bono basis, but we would love to share once we got some grants and DGR status, and then what we are getting, that we'll be sharing with all our volunteers and mentors. So join our community. We do have a WhatsApp group where we will adding all the recordings, and then anyway, please share around and help us to continue the journey of educating and empowering young kids and women. So I always try to end our session with Audrey's this motivation. I'm not free while any woman is unfree, even when her shackles are very different from my own. I know that our lives are not at all alike, including myself and Komala. We were on different worlds, but the pain that we are going through may be true. So the same way, whoever joined today online, thank you so much. But I want, She Rise is there to be together and rise together, because we totally believe, and Kamala and myself always talk during our weekly, or like in our walking and all our planning sessions. At least one person is actually becoming free. That is good news. But we want to look forward to this. I'm not free while any woman is unfree. So bring the people who think that they need support from us, and we are ready to help. Komla, I would love you to close off thanking Maya and all the people for tonight's
Thank
session.
you, Bismi. Thank you for that. Thank you, Maya. I'm really very grateful. Deepest gratitude, really. It was just an eye opener. There's so much to know. Like I work in health industry. I had to deal with HR all the time, because, like, when you were talking about performance management, that hit me, because that's where we nurses, we have to keep up with our performance management. When I had to say somebody has to leave, it really is not that easy, because we have that record of performance management, and then it's not just like a saying, oh, this person is not caring or passionate or compassionate. No, it doesn't work like that. It's everything is evidence. And in healthcare, that's where the challenge lies, because it's not that easy to just say to person, get out, you don't belong here, because everything is written and documented. And every year we have to work through that performance management. And Yeah, I have dealt with HR many, many times, and then they're really good. They really support us because they say they can't just take you out of this. Because, when you said they're downsizing, they're restructuring, that happened during COVID. Can you believe it's the middle of pandemic and we had to restructure the whole aged care and every aged care, and then everybody were in tears. We are working hard as nurses and support workers and admin, and here the management wants to get rid of you, like they're just cutting off the downgrading, and then they saying to you, oh, you'll be going part-time now. Everything, Royal Commission, Union, everybody were at the doors during pandemic, and we had an outbreak at the facilities. So I just really feel like HR, they do support a lot, but then yes, sometimes this is where it's hidden. Yeah, if we don't have evidence to fight for it, you can't win, as clear as that, because we need everything documented. And like I say, document every single day. Doesn't matter, even a line, don't miss it, because it can always come back good to you or the others. So thank you, Maya. Such a great insight. Really appreciate. And thank you, everybody else. Thank you, Ramya. we have we have met a couple of times. Really good to see you. Thank you for supporting us.
Pleasure.
Jeanette, thank you. I'm meeting you first time. And Janelle, thank you so much. A special thank you to you. Always here supporting us. You're just an amazing person. And Lay, thank you. This is second time of seeing you. Really thank you everybody to spending this time. I know it's late dinner for everybody, I guess. Don't want to hold you too long, but then yeah, from our hearts, let's rise together. Let's keep supporting each other. Please do connect with us. Thank you.
Fantastic.